As she stood looking at it, wondering why there was a lamppost in the middle of a wood and wondering what to do next, she heard a pitter-patter of feet coming toward her. And soon after that, a very strange person stepped out from among the trees into the light of the lamppost.
This is probably one I think I was most excited to do.
Yeah. This is like one of your favorite books.
Of all time. We're doing A Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I'm so excited.
Yay! I'm excited.
This is one of those books that we've talked about a lot, one of those pinnacle childhood. You read it and you were just like, oh, I'm hooked on fantasy. I feel like that's how you differentiated kids when they were little, right? Like the ones that read Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and they were like, that's stupid, a talking lion and a talking tumnus.
Yeah.
And then the kids that were like, this is magic. That was us.
Fair. But you know what's interesting? And I'll dive a little bit more into this as we go. But this book specifically was introduced to me very differently. And I didn't remember this until I read it again.
Oh God, is this therapeutic?
I guess it's not a bad thing, but so this book went hand in hand with a Bible study that I did as a child.
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Well, first, before we talk about Jesus, let's talk about what Jesus would be drinking. Jesus would be drinking through the wardrobe a lovely martini. Okay, if you've watched the 2005 movie, what's the most hilarious part of the whole movie? Our boy Edmund getting down on some Turkish delight.
Yep.
And the little dwarf that's with him is like, you want more num-nums? Do you want more sweeties?
Terrifying.
Which, by the way, that is what we say to our dogs all the time when they want treats. But I didn't know. We don't know what Turkish delight is. That is not something that we eat in America.
No.
So I had to look up what it was. And this is years ago. And then when I started traveling abroad and I tried it, I get it. It was World War II and like sweets were like a real commodity.
Sugar.
But rose-flavored sugar? I just don't know that would be my vibe. So anyway, what is my vibe is rose-flavored martinis.
Ooh.
So you do a really nice floral gin, some rose liqueur, some rose water, a nice sticky simple syrup, which is called a gum syrup, which is like a very sweet simple syrup. And if you want to, a little lemon juice, if you want to, cut the bitterness and the sweetness. I mean, cut the sweetness with some bitterness.
Yeah.
And just shake it and strain it into a really pretty martini glass. And then put a rose petal dusted with powdered sugar in there to look like the powdered sugar of the Turkish delight.
Love it.
I love rose martinis. They're delicious. But that's what Edmund should have drank instead of whatever that delicious hot chocolate he was given by the White Witch.
Yeah. So cheers.
Cheers to that. Now that we're drunk, let's talk about Jesus. Since then, C.S. Lewis has come out to say that, like, 'cause this became a banned book.
Uh-huh.
So the people banning books are the Christians.
Yes,
so that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
No, but you know what's crazy is diving back into this book and then watching the movie again, I realized how much this shadows the story of Jesus in the Christian world.
Yeah, I'm Catholic, so we do things a little differently than you do.
Yeah, and it's kind of fascinating because there's a lot of, what's the word?
Well, there's a lot of symbolism, right?
Symbolism.
Yeah.
I was like, foreshadowing. No, that's not it. Symbolism. There's a ton.
Yeah.
Like,
and I should say I'm not Catholic anymore, but I was raised Catholic.
Yeah.
And you were raised very Christian.
Yeah.
Real Christian.
Yeah.
So clearly we've strayed. But there's a lot of allegory in there, a lot of Christian allegory, a lot of symbolism.
Yes.
light, the lamppost, you go towards the light, and the White Witch. And
I think one of the biggest things that I recognized with rewatching the movie was the symbolism of the White Witch.
Mm-hmm.
She is kind of like representative of the devil.
Yeah, she's supposed to be Satan.
And what's wild
Why
about
make her a woman?
what? Not only that, but like this is a children's book, right? And when you watch the movie, the scene, I mean, we're diving right in. The scene,
Good, let's do it.
Where not only does it happen in the book, which I think is actually more horrific than what they do in the movie, they torture Aslan, the lion, the mighty lion. And then, ultimately
on the stone table,
AKA ultimately
the cross,
kill him.
Yes.
Well, and the stone table also signifies when Jesus rises, the tomb doors crack open and then he's alive again. That's the whole symbolism. But all of that aside, this is an incredible story. And I don't remember it. Like for you, I think it's very different. For me, I was very much like I didn't enjoy it as a kid because it was
forced upon you.
Yeah, and it was linked with a Bible study that it was all about reading this as like a learning about Jesus and everything that goes into that.
Sounds like a real rager.
It definitely was not the way to read it, but as an adult rereading this without any kind of tie to like a homework assignment after.
This is a homework assignment though.
I loved it, and I read it, and then I also listened to the audio of it, and
which is great.
The
narrator is fantastic.
It's so good. We talked about this a little bit off screen. I ended up getting super, super confused when originally going to read the book because I thought I was reading the wrong book first. And so then I went kind of down a rabbit hole of kind of interesting facts. And what I thought I was reading was the intended first book. But when C.S. Lewis died, the publishing company that owned the rights to his books decided to kind of do a little reorg of what books they felt should be.
Must be nice.
Yeah. And so I was like super, super confused because I was like, why do I keep seeing this book like The Magician? What is it? The Magician's Nephew?
Yes.
Like I'm supposed to read that first? What are you talking about? I thought The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was the first book. And so very quickly realized that, yes, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was the first book written by C.S. Lewis. But in chronological order, The Magician's Nephew was the first in the world of Narnia, which I haven't read it, so I can't speak to it. But I was like,
you should. If you finish the whole series, you'll really enjoy it.
Okay,
because you've watched the second movie and third movie, right?
In 3 hours.
Okay, yes, I know. I told you.
It's such a quick read.
I just want to tell everyone, when Dayelle bought the books for this, she forgot that she had already, reading this. She knew she read it, but she didn't know when. And she buys the book with all the books in it under one. And I was like, you can read it in like 20 minutes. And she's like, what are you talking about? This thing is massive.
Like 600 pages. I did not. And even crazier is then when I dove into the movies, I was also confused because I'm like, wait, which movie is the first movie? Because there's so many.
I know. And here's the thing. Okay, so the book was published in October, I think it was October 16th, 1950.
Yeah.
And he wrote it for his goddaughter, Lucy, which is can we talk about the sweetest thing ever?
Yeah.
Like Lucy Barfield.
Do you have the little quote that he wrote
in the front of the it's the sweetest thing.
I love that.
And it says, "My dear Lucy, to Lucy Barfield, my dear Lucy, I wrote this story for you, but when I began it, I had not realized that girls go quicker than books." Oh God, that line.
I love it.
As a result, you are already too old for fairy tales, and by the time it is printed and bound, you will be older still. But someday you'll be old enough to start reading fairy tales again. You can then take it down from some upper shelf, dust it, and tell me what you think of it. I shall probably be too deaf to hear and too old to understand a word you say, but I shall still be your affectionate godfather, C.S. Lewis. So, first of all, can we talk about that line? Because it reminds me so much of you and I.
Yeah.
Where it says that someday you'll be old enough to start reading fairy tales again. And I think the idea is someday you'll have children and be able to read it to them. Or you can just become a mid-30-year-old who reads fairy smut. I think it's the same. I think it's the same.
Yeah.
But he wrote it for her with, her in mind. And it all came from, there's an essay that he wrote, The Origin of the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, in an essay titled It All Began with a Picture. The lion all began with a picture of a fawn carrying an umbrella and parcels in a snowy wood. This picture had been in my mind since I was about 16. Then one day when I was about 40, I said to myself, let's try to make a story about it. At the beginning of the Second World War, many British children were evacuated from London and other cities to the countryside to escape bombing attacks by Nazi Germany. So he has this whole story about these three schoolgirls, Margaret, Mary, and Catherine. They came to live at the kilns in Risinghurst, his home. And he suggested that the experience gave him a new appreciation of children. And then in late September, he began the children's story. And it's about 4 children whose names were Anne, Martin, Rose, and Peter, which we all know that he changed those names. But I just love that there was a kind of relation to, especially the beginning of the book, you don't get it as much. I think they do a really good job in the movie.
Yeah.
Illustrating that scene in the beginning of the movie where they're running to the bomb shelter with their mom is so stressful.
And Edmund going back to get the photo.
The picture of his dad. Oh.
I really loved that. I right off the bat, I'll say, like, the movie did an incredible job of adding to the story.
100%.
I don't think it took
It's not
away.
a manuscript. It's not perfect. I don't think it was meant to be.
No, but I think, like, you don't get a lot of the storyline of, like, when the kids first go to their uncle's house. Like, you don't get
Professor's house?
Professor's house.
Yeah.
You don't get as much of their story, like, leading up to the arrival at the manor. And I think, like, the way the movie does it, it's a very emotional.
Oh,
like,
gosh,
of course it's emotional in the book, but it's very quick. Like, it's just a couple pages and you're done. You're at the mansion already, or manor, whatever. But in the movie, it's such a, like, it's scary.
And you see the mom's emotion, putting those tags on them.
Exactly.
And they're going on the train with all these other children whose parents are doing the same thing. And it's like that they couldn't protect their children, so they were sending them to safety, staying back.
It's it's really, really sad. And I also love when they finally get to their stop. And is it Lucy that says, "Oh, did mom label us wrong?"
Yeah, did she label us wrong? Oh my gosh, little babies.
Can we talk about casting in the movie?
All right, first, since we were talking about the professor, that's Professor Slughorn in Harry Potter.
Yes,
he's so good. He's so whimsical and so, like,
he fits perfectly. He reminds me of an adult child. He
100%.
has the spirit of a child, and the excitement on his face when they go to him and say, like, we don't know what to do. Lucy's lying. Like, what, and he's like, well, has she ever been the one to lie? And they're like, well, no, that's usually Edmund. And then he's like, so then what would be the...
Why would she be lying?
Why would now be the time?
So sweet.
It's beautiful. And I think they did a really good job of taking a book. And again, like, it's a children's book. So I think about the fact that this was written for a child to read or have it read to them. And so I would assume that's also why there isn't so much... There's not a ton of buildup of that situation like there is in the movie. Like, you can do a lot more with visual. And when it's, like, something that's for a child, there is a certain level of, like, you understand what's happening without there being a lot of scary stuff in there.
Sure.
And as an adult reading it, you know that it's a scary situation. But when you see the visual from the movie, it's beautiful because it's like
so it really emotional.
Exactly.
It evokes a lot of emotion.
Translates so beautifully on screen. I think, like, it was definitely a well done adaptation. I did find, and I thought this was hilarious, and I wondered if you knew about this, because I was like, of course, but I didn't know this, and I watched a little bit of it, and it was hilarious to watch.
The BBC? You didn't watch that in school?
No.
Okay. That was a rainy day Pine Bush school district go to.
Stop.
It's nostalgic, right?
It's
so you watch it back.
everything.
It's nostalgic. Even for it came out in 1988.
Yeah.
Even for the late 80s, early 90s, those are some janky special effects. I would not call them special effects. I would call them not very special effects.
Terrifying?
Yeah, they're terrifying.
The animals in that remind me of the animals that you have. What is that? The person that stuffs animals, what are those called?
Taxidermy?
Yeah. They look like taxidermy
Yeah,
animals.
it gives me the same vibes that like I'm like you ever watch Labyrinth or like yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So kind of like that.
Yes.
Like let's do this as terrifying as possible, which makes you kind of love it even more.
Right. Because it's not meant to be terrifying. It's
just terrifying. So if you haven't watched that and you're a grown adult, pop an edible.
Yeah. There's
dive
like
in.
2 seasons of that.
No, they did the whole gamut.
They did the whole okay.
Everything.
I didn't
know
that.
Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, I think, was only 3 episodes.
Okay.
But then I think, I don't know if they finished all the way, but I know that there's like a bajillion episodes. 16, I think.
Okay. I only stumbled on 3 episodes, and it was season 2 of the show.
Hilarious.
And it was like when they go back.
Did you watch the animated one? I did not.
I didn't.
It kept popping up when I was looking for notes. I know nothing about it.
Same.
Okay.
I don't know.
Great. So we'll touch on that never.
Yeah.
But back to the casting. I just wanted to pull it up because we were talking about it. This could not have been more expertly cast.
Perfection.
Like William Moseley, he plays our boy Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Anna Popplewell, she plays Susan. I mean, like, gorgeous. What I would give for those eyes and those lips. People pay to look like her.
And she encompasses that character so
100%.
Beautifully. She is her mother,
Mm-hmm.
which I loved. And I
Yes.
love the fact that that's added in there a couple of times where it's like, you're not my mother.
You're not mom. Skander Keynes, or Canis, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. He plays Edmund, who you really hate until like the last 20 minutes. And then Georgie Henley, our little girl Lucy.
I can't.
She's the most precious. She's so cute.
Those eyes, those big doe eyes.
And those big gap teeth. I just want to, oh God, she's delicious.
then-
So cute.
Our little thirst trap thrown in there.
We got our boy James McAvoy playing Mr. Tumnus.
He is everything.
Also, I like, there's no human on the planet. The same way that James Earl Jones's voice is James Earl Jones's voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's probably the only other human that I could think of that could be the voice of Aslan. But the fact that it was Liam Neeson is just...
I didn't know that.
You didn't know?
No.
Welcome, Peter, son of Adam. Welcome, Susan and Lucy, daughters of Eve. And welcome to you, Beavers. You have my thanks. But where is the 4th?
I didn't know that.
Neeson.
That's wild.
His voice is perfect for it.
It is.
It's so like commanding and deep, and
Also,
you're also like weirdly attracted to the lion. 'Cause
Yes.
You're like, oh my God, you hot
yeah,
lion.
he is a hot lion.
You are a hot lion.
So beautiful, beautiful special effects. That lion
Looks so real. I would do anything to I just want to put my hand in his fur.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
like
Honestly.
they do, and then ride him.
Well, that's the clip right there, folks. And then, I mean, we cannot not bring her up.
Oh,
Tilda Swinton
just
as the White Witch. Are you freaking kidding me?
she plays evil so well.
And it's like kind of also hot.
Yeah.
When she's like, do you climb up here next to me? I'll keep you warm. I'm like, okay, I would climb right up in that thing.
Yeah, and I also this is something that like speaks true to a lot of people who play these like almost terrifying people in a lot of these movies, is she's like maybe one of the kindest people
In the world. Yeah.
And so I think like knowing that is her personality, that she's able to then tap into these like I think you have to be a good person to play an evil person
so well.
so well.
Yeah.
Like I think of like Snape, right? Incredible. Why can't I
Not
think
now. He's not now. Not this season. Not Love Actually season. We don't like him, Love Actually.
We don't
season.
like him. That's
He's a
true.
piece of crap.
He's such a poop. But he plays it so well.
Plays it so well.
Because he's a good human. Well, he was a good human.
Not this season. You mess with my girl.
But just think Die Hard, and he's dead.
I know.
So
Bye-bye.
So
Also-
we did a little jump through there.
It's all Christmas movies. So when this was released, it was released on December 7th, 2005, which it's the year I graduated high school. Shout out.
Also, that's kind of crazy because usually like movies, especially a movie that could potentially be a pretty big, blockbuster, released in December.
Premiered on December 7th. I misspoke.
Wow.
And then it hit theaters in the UK on December 8th and the United States on December 9th. And it was a huge box office hit, grossing $745 million worldwide against a $180 million budget. It became the third highest grossing film of 2005, which, I mean, let's be honest. It was, it won for Best Visual Effects at the BAFTA Awards. It won for Best Makeup and Hair. It was nominated for like a bajillion things. Also, did you know that the main song Wonderkind in the movie was nominated for Best Original Song? It's written by Alanis Morissette.
I mean, that makes sense.
Alanis, coming through.
I mean, come
my
on.
girl.
I have to bring up one of my favorite characters.
Okay. Is it the Beavers?
The female, the mom, the wife.
It's hilarious.
She's precious when she like brushes down and he's like,
you look fine. Oh my God, when they're walking
Stop
up to
fussing.
me, Aslan,
Stop fussing.
You look fine.
It's so sweet. And it's so like genuine, like a relationship between a husband and wife. It seems so human.
They're
but
about to die and she's packing jam.
They're beavers.
They're beavers. They're about to die. The wolves are coming into their den and she's like, pack jam. And he's like, really? And she's like, you're not gonna like Mr. Beaver if he's hungry.
But also like they're not scary beavers. They're adorable.
I do have some bones to pick, though,
fair.
since we're talking about the animals.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I don't like that they made the polar bears mean, and I don't like that they made the wolves mean. I think they would be nice. Coca-Cola commercials have told us that polar bears are nice.
I know, but they're not.
They're so scary.
They're actually,
pulling the White Witch's sleigh? Are you kidding me?
But also, isn't it just the broken animals kind of where it's like they're all with her? The ones
all
that
the wolves aren't. They're
sinned.
so scary.
The ones that sinned go to,
Yeah. Narnia for forever. Oh, Father Christmas. I mean, what a blow up.
Although I have a note because I didn't love his
I'm sure
jacket.
the scenes aren't locked, so they can probably redo it. Go ahead.
I'd like them to redo his costume.
Okay.
One, his beard was not white. It was gray. And in the book, it is white because.
Yeah.
And also, his coat was supposed to be crimson red.
Yeah.
And it was not.
Well, here's the thing. He's really expressing that he's gone away because there hasn't been a Christmas. So maybe he's bored, because it's forever winter but never Christmas. He says that.
Yeah.
And here's something else.
Yeah.
I had such a fear of being turned to stone.
Yeah.
From the White Witch.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, the White Witch and Medusa and quicksand. These are the things I'm afraid of in life. And garden gnomes.
It brings us back to Percy Jackson.
Percy Jackson, absolutely.
Yeah.
Reading it's so fun, right? Like, normally we talk about this as, we both had very different experiences reading this because I was reading it as like escapism. It was a book I had gotten from the local library, and I loved it. And really, like, the way that it's written, if you have not read it to your children,
you need to.
The imagination that you can pull from it, it leaves enough room. He gives just enough descriptors that you can see it in your mind's eye, but doesn't give you so much that you can't create your own world.
Fair.
It's very similar to the way I felt about Harry Potter. Certain things that when you see them on screen, I thought that this 2005 version was better than I could have envisioned. Like, it has made it so the vernacular around winter, especially up in the Northeast, there's times when the snow falls really heavy and freezes on the trees, and it's super thick. And this is going to sound very weird unless you live in a very cold climate. Snow has different crunches, right? Like super wet snow doesn't have that same like squeaky crunch that super, super cold fine snow has. And when everything is coated like that and everything is covered in ice, you will hear people say, oh my gosh, what is this, Narnia out here?
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm walking through
All the
Narnia
time.
out here. Which I don't know if it was as prominent, like in the books, it was just, winter all the time. So maybe you got a callback here and there.
Yeah.
But once the movie came out and you got to visually see when Lucy walks through that wardrobe, and it is just, I think maybe some of the reason why I love winter so much is that
Narnia.
beauty, that like untouched white woods.
Well, there's also like, growing up in the country, you have this beautiful, like when you go out as it's snowing, right? The ground's already covered. It's like the sun is kind of setting, but it's snowing. So it's pretty dark, but you can still see if there's like light shining. And there's that sound. And it's like the lightest, like, like rain, you can hear rain, but snow, when it's like that gentle falling snow, there's something very magical and very like, you're like welcoming winter kind of feel to it. I don't know. It's hard to put that into words.
I mean, Lorelai Gilmore, she told us, I smell snow.
Fair. Like,
it has a smell. She's not wrong.
No, she's not wrong.
There's a smell in the air. And like you just said, there's a sound when it's falling. And I remember growing up, my sisters and I would be like, it was Narnia. If you grew up where we grew up, right?
Yeah.
Your backyard looks just like Narnia.
It does.
And that lamppost is just, oh God. I get emotional thinking about it. It's such it allowed you to be very similar to the way I feel about other books we've covered. It allows you to feel that super, super fantasy world without being embarrassed of it. Because at some point you have to grow up, the people around you are like, what do your parents tell you? Stop living in your fantasy world.
Totally.
Your neighborhood just got cooler with Kroger Delivery's refrigerated trucks. Simply order groceries at the same great prices online as in-store, and we'll bring them to you fresh every time. And if that wasn't cool enough, you can now earn 4 times the fuel points after 4 with your digital coupon. Choose a next-day Kroger delivery time slot for 4 p.m. or later on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Must deliver by February 4th. Restrictions apply. See Kroger.com for details.
I think what's really interesting about this book, too, is that there's almost like usually by a certain age of children, if you're listening, cover your ears.
Children, if you're listening, you probably shouldn't be. We curse a lot.
Children of a certain age, stop believing in a lot of things, right? Mm-hmm. There's a certain innocence that they start to lose the older they get. And I think with this book, it kind of brings you back and it puts everyone at the same level. Yeah. I think there's like a certain, because, in the story, Father Christmas comes when they're, trying to get to Aslan and, potentially fight this battle, between the evil queen and witch, whatever. And they all just know who he is. There's no like, oh, he can't be like, this is not Father. It's Father Christmas and he's giving gifts. Like, there's no like, oh, you're too like, oh, silly Lucy. He's just a man.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, they all are like just kind of mesmerized by this man who's giving them these. And it's not really like he's giving them gifts. He's giving them tools
to succeed in the war.
Exactly. Yeah. And it almost feels like maybe that's a little bit of symbolism. Like,
sure,
here's things that you're going to need.
Absolutely.
And I really loved that because it kind of like what you said, where it, as a child reading this book, again, not so much my experience, but as someone that could potentially read this to a child and then they could, put themselves in this world. It's so beautifully done. Like, I don't even know how to, there's no other way to say it. And it's just a beautiful adventure story. And I can only assume, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that each one of these books is only more adventure and more just like, going, I mean, it's the reason we read our smut books, fantasy smut books, is like escaping reality to this beautiful world, but it's not in a unhealthy way. It's not in a this could be bad.
And lessons are being learned. And like you
Yeah.
have that scene where Aslan makes a deal with the White Witch that, Edmund makes a mistake, right? So Edmund's first mistake is he goes through the wardrobe, meets the White Witch, and Lucy and him, they meet up and find each other in Narnia. And they go back. And she's so excited to tell Susan and Peter, like, I wasn't lying. Edmund was there. He saw it. And no, you're just a kid. You're lying. And I mean, very interesting for you because this is your exact sibling dynamic. You have 2 girls and 2 boys, right? So you kind of team up, age-wise you do. And then you've got a separate team. The sisters stick together. And then, you kind of team up in a way where Lucy thought Edmund was going to be on her side.
Yeah.
And he wasn't.
And in the book, it's described as the worst day of her life when he doesn't.
I know. It's so sad.
Like when he lies about being there.
And then, you really hate Edmund. And watching this as an adult, you just see a boy who really misses his dad.
Misses his dad and doesn't understand what's happening. He doesn't
know what's happening. And he keeps making all these horrible choices. And he's a kid. And kids are going to make bad choices. So when he, the White Witch says the laws of the land are Edmund is a traitor. She gets all the traitors. She gets the blood of the traitors. And so they go into Aslan's tent and you don't know what they're going to say and you don't know what happens, but he walks out and he says, it is done. And he tells everybody Edmund's transgressions are done. We don't talk about it. It's done. Nobody bring it up again. And there's that beautiful sibling relationship that they have from there on out that is just probably one of my favorite parts of the story. It's them against the world, literally, no matter what world they're in.
Yeah.
They're all each other has. And you get that scene where Lucy and Susan follow Aslan and he dies. Like I'm actually very grateful in the movie they didn't show the torturing as much as they do in the book.
I know.
Because it's really graphic.
It is.
For a child, it's graphic.
Surprisingly
graphic.
Yeah.
And she does cut all of his hair off, his beautiful mane that like holds a lot of his power, and wears it to the battle around her neck as like, I conquered him. And then you get that moment where he dies. And one of my favorite scenes is they lay there all night just crying on top of him. And he's tied up with these ropes and these mice come and, Susan gets so upset. She's like, get off of him. She thinks that they're eating the dead body. And then Lucy says, no, look. And all the little mice are chewing the rope to free him. Oh God, I got so emotional. I was crying my eyes out last night. I rewatched it last night again.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's one of those movies you can rewatch over and over again and it still impacts you as much as it did the first time probably. And I think a really big plot of this movie is forgiveness throughout,
Absolutely.
And it's funny too, like all of the stuff you were just talking about, it goes hand in hand with a lot of what as a child I was taught. There's some positive stuff that you can learn from, growing up in a religious household, forgiveness being one of them.
Oh, I learned guilt. Good old fashioned Catholic guilt.
There's a whole lot more, not so much. But I think what's interesting is that was a lot of what I saw through the movie too, is this shadow of, the whole thing with like, just going to talk about Jesus again. But Jesus, died for our sins and the whole Aslan dying to save Edmund, he basically takes on his, because he didn't do it, right?
Yeah.
He took on Edmund's sin and then went on to, and I think it's funny because I just kept going back to that stuff, but then if I like separated it, it's just this beautiful story of forgiveness. And I think
forgiving people and loving them for where they are at that time.
And meeting them there.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I think, and that very visual scene where Edmund is over like on a rock talking to Aslan and you don't know what's said.
Love it.
You don't know what's going on there, but
it's really
powerful. It's just such a visual point of the movie. And it's beautiful because it's very much like it doesn't matter what was said because what was done and it's over. And I think like that is, as humans, we tend to harp on things
and harbor those feelings and hold on to them.
And I think it's a beautiful way to say, like, hey, what's in the past is in the past. We can't fix what we did. We can only be better moving forward.
Exactly.
And I think that's a beautiful way to kind of, like, this is very much what this is.
100%. That's a perfect way to put it. And there's also, you know, the watching the movie, you know, the time doesn't pass in the real world, no matter how long you're in the wardrobe. Yeah. And they know that.
Yeah.
So that they can stay in there as long as they want. And you get this scene towards the end where they're, in the book, you know what they're doing, but in the movie, you don't really. But they're hunting the famous white stag. And if you get the white stag, he grants you 4, I think it's 3 or 4 wishes of whatever you want. Mm-hmm. So it's the 4 of them hunting, and they're adults.
Yeah.
And then they see the lamppost, and it's like grown over now.
Yeah.
You know, and winter's gone. It's spring. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, this looks familiar. And they're walking. And then even though they're adults, they're arguing just like they did when they're kids. They're like, oh, you're stepping on my foot.
Yeah.
Stop pushing me. Why are you doing? And they're having this little, like, you know, skirmish as they're walking through the wardrobe. And they fall out of the wardrobe as children. Mm-hmm. And then the professor walks in and he says, you know, they're like, oh, we're sorry. And he's so excited to hear about their adventures.
Excited. Yeah.
They tell him, you know, like, you're not going to believe it if we told you. And he said, I bet you I would, you know, and there's that moment where not only did this experience just happen to them, but they have an adult who's willing to believe them and hear their story. And in the middle of a war, what more could these children want when they don't have their parents? And it's so beautiful. And like you said, that actor is could not be more perfect to play the professor.
You know what's interesting? As you're explaining this, it only makes me think this is exactly why C.S. Lewis wrote this book. It's very much, he was basically saying, like, it's okay to pretend. It's okay to play. Exactly. And then, like, to have an adult written in the story who also
will jump on board with the kids. Yeah. And like, and they're adults in the story at the very end, and they come back as children, and, you know, to continue the storyline down the series, you know, it's the world of Narnia that you're exploring. Yeah. But their story is my favorite because it's so realistic, and it's also like, you suspend belief.
Yeah.
How is Peter just freaking swinging that sword around like he's been sword fighting for 200 years?
He just knows.
Also,
Susan, how does she know how to use a bow?
Never misses, apparently. You know, the girl's just a killer. And, you know, there's so much of it. You just suspend the belief because it's too beautiful to nitpick. Mm-hmm. And also one thing that I really laugh about, I remember thinking it when I was little and then like agreeing with it as an adult. I don't know if I can remember them exactly, but when he grants what each child, when Aslan's like saying their name.
Yeah.
I would be so pissed if I was anyone but Peter. Susan the Gentle.
Yeah.
Edmund the Just.
Oh, wait.
Peter the Magnificent?
Wait.
But wait, what is Lucy? I forget Lucy's.
I don't know, but also, do you remember the part where is it Aslan? I don't remember who says it, but they basically say like, oh, girls shouldn't be fighting in wars.
Mm-hmm.
I do appreciate the fact that they took that out of the movie.
Same, because those girls do fight.
But if you think about when this book was written, it was the 1950s.
Nobody would have read it if they had a bunch of girls.
But what did it say? It's too messy. Wars are too messy for girls.
For girls, yeah.
And I was like, what? It's only one little line.
And Peter also tries to send them back, and he's like, I will. I told Mom I'd protect you from this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, why can't I find Lucy's? I know Susan the Gentle, Edmund the Just, Peter the Magnificent.
Lucy,
like, how much better does it get? Lucy the... Hold on, I'll tell you right now.
Okay.
It is Lucy the Valiant. Okay, wait, that one's actually really cute. I recant. Lucy the Valiant.
I mean,
Edmund the Just.
Well, because he
had to learn the difference between the right and wrong.
Right.
But Peter the Magnificent? Are you kidding me?
I mean,
Susan the Gentle.
But can we talk about how beautiful he was, Peter?
God, Peter was so hot. Has he gone on to do anything else? That
no,
actor?
I was just thinking.
I'm gonna click on his name. This is why I bring my phone into these episodes, guys, so that I can look this up in real life. Whoa, he's aged well.
I mean, I didn't doubt that.
He was in The Royals from 2015 to 2018. Did you watch that?
Was he? Oh, no.
I didn't watch it.
No, me either. Maybe we should.
I don't know. Oh, well, hello.
So this is just a random cool fact that I discovered while doing a little
Okay, I'm ready.
research. We loved this movie, right?
Yes.
Well, guess who's making a new one?
We talked about it
I
in
know.
our New Year's Eve episode.
But I got the dates.
Okay.
It's
We didn't have
actually-
dates, so give them to us.
Yeah. So for anyone that didn't listen to our New Year's special, first, you should listen to it. And second, Greta Gerwig is directing the new Narnia. And she begins filming in July of this year. So
And she's doing
2025.
a show or a
It's
movie?
a series.
It's a series.
And
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No?
It might be, but according to this, what I found, it's 2 movies.
Oh, okay. So she's doing...
So, and it says that she's already set to start writing and directing the second Narnia for Netflix. So they're both Netflix.
Oh, okay.
So
Great.
maybe that's, I think a series would be awesome, but if we get 2 movies.
Yeah, you're right. These Narnia Netflix films. I will say this. If anyone can do it, it's our girl Greta.
But who's going to be?
Well, here's the thing. When they did this one, they did some unknowns. And you brought this up. You're 100% correct. For ACOTAR, we need to have unknowns for the main people.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of go with that for Narnia because look at what Harry Potter did, right? Like some of those kids had acted in Broadway and off Broadway, and Draco Malfoy was in The Borrowers. Yeah. And like they're not massive names, right? That's who they are forever. Like Daniel Radcliffe is Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And you are going to be these people forever. A whole new generation is going to fall in love with you the way that we did. Exactly. And I think that's important. And I think that maybe you get the bigger names for the characters that are a little bit older, right?
Exactly.
Like the Tilda Swintons and
smaller,
the James McAvoys. Yeah. And Liam Neeson.
I think what's interesting with that too is I'm sure as an actor or an actress, it has to be a pretty big undertaking to sign on to a role like that.
Right. And
because
it's so beloved.
It's so beloved, but also you become that character, which means when that project is done.
Yep.
Like I think about like Robert Pattinson, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Definitely did not help his career being Edward.
Yes. It's the opposite, I guess, of the Harry Potter
Exactly.
crew.
And I think what's hard is the director and probably writer you have on a project really impacts your career. And when you have someone who is a very talented actor, but maybe just doesn't have the right direction or the right whatever it might be. I'm not an actor or an actress. I can't speak to that. But I can imagine that's a really hard thing to say, like, yes, I want to be this person forever. Like it is a forever thing.
I think you're bringing up a good point because I think Greta's going to kill it. We already know Greta does not miss, right? We just did Little Women. Mm-hmm. Her version of Little Women, 2004 is like, our heart and soul. Mm-hmm. Her version, you're scared. And then you're like, no, this brought such life to Little Women. Like to me, now I see Timothée Chalamet.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's going to happen with this. And you have to be really careful when you're casting that. Very similar to the Harry Potter show, right? Like that this is going to be their lives.
Yeah.
This is it. Twilight, let's be honest. You're looking at 2 of them. We will never not watch those movies.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Like we love them, but it deserves a little redemption.
Yeah.
And some of the things that they did in the movie, had they not made him sparkle the way he did, and had they not done that whole spider monkey tree scene, I honestly think it would not have gotten the ridiculous nature that it did.
Also, just the coloring of the first movie.
It's unfortunate. But I think with this, I think it's in safe hands, and I'm really excited for it. And this has absolutely nothing to do with this.
Okay.
I mean, could not be any further from it.
Love it.
Yesterday, in Smut News,
Yeah.
yesterday, Dayelle and I found
Oh my
our
God.
favorite series, written by J.L. Armentrout. Are you kidding me?
I can't even.
Okay, so From Blood and Ash, written by J.L. Armentrout, fantastic series. The prequel's just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
Got picked up by Sony. So that has nothing to do with this, but because we did not mention it in our New Year's Eve episode because that news did not exist.
Yeah.
And this is I just wanted to share
that. Also, kind of crazy. I go down rabbit holes.
Don't we all?
I went down a rabbit hole after reading the article that you had shared.
Yes.
She's also creating a reality TV show.
Huh?
It's a competition, and it's like a romance competition. I will put it on our socials. I don't know anything about it, but I found an article that
can we audition Dina
about it. It's like it's already in production.
Oh, damn it.
Like
I miss these things.
How do we not know about
I don't know.
But it hasn't it obviously hasn't been spread.
It's not mainstream yet. Okay.
But yeah, so there's also that.
Okay, that had nothing to do with it. Back to Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I just had to say it because I was so excited.
Yeah, that's
back to the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah. So Greta's going to kill it.
I'm so excited. And I'm really glad that you reread this as an adult and now you like it because I really had to beg for this one.
Yeah, this was a tricky one because of my history with it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't it's not a bad history. It's more just when something.
It takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, when something is linked to something that doesn't necessarily leave the warm and fuzzies for you, it's a harder one to pick up. And
it's like ripping a Band-Aid off, literally.
Exactly. Yeah. But I don't have that feeling at all while reading it. Of course, I still have the, in the back of my head, okay, yep.
There it is.
Yeah. And as an adult, even more so because I
bet.
As a kid, I wasn't picking up on what they were trying to put down with the book.
But now as an adult, we're both sexually attracted to Aslan. So there's that. And then once you know it's Liam Neeson, that gets even, come on.
I mean, and then Mr. Tumnus.
Give me that scarf. I'm just going to say one thing I don't love. He didn't have the umbrella. And that was the vision in C.S. Lewis's head is when Lucy walks through, he's carrying the parcels, he's got the umbrella.
Yeah.
And then they link arm in arm and they're carrying the umbrella together. And I really wish they would have done that.
Well, he has the umbrella, but he folds it. He doesn't walk with
they're supposed to be walking. Okay.
I know.
Anyway.
I do understand the visual though, because it is
that's
an important factor.
That has nothing to do with anything in life.
So
watch it or read it. Both everything, always, all over the place. We have to watch the animated one. I'm going to have to do that on drugs, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to be high for
I have
that.
a hard time with animated shows, but I would second that. I would watch it and read it. I would read it first.
Yeah, definitely read it first.
Because you just, it allows you to watch it with kind of a different
And if you haven't read it yet and you've only seen the 2005 movie, read it. It's really beautiful, especially if you just need a palate cleanser. We always call certain books palate cleansers.
Yeah.
You rip through this in a couple hours, but it is such a beautiful escape and you feel like a little kid.
A good one.
It's like a warm huggy.
And if you're like us and you like smutty books, it's a great palate cleanser for that.
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
It's very helpful.
What is yes? Okay, well, I'm so excited we got to do this. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I was really excited.
You
guys, next I have to convince her to do A Wrinkle in Time. Help me.
I'm warming up. Warming up.
Okay, great.
It is added to my queue. So, on that note,
bye. Our editor is Katie Yonner. Our associate producer is Grace Heerman. And our senior content producer is Kyle Bosch. Our executive producer is Tommy West. And Watch It or Read It is produced by Gotham West Studios.
At Kroger, an annual Boost membership just got even better. Now you can choose from Disney Plus with ads, Hulu with ads, or ESPN Plus on us when you sign up. Plus, enjoy unlimited free delivery, double fuel points, exclusive offers, and free items. Sign up for a Boost membership today. It's an easier way to save, including new streaming options to relax with while we deliver your groceries. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details.